Hi guys, Martin from Belief. In this video we're going to look at how to change the style that is applied to various buttons on your website, such as these two header buttons, the three primary call to action buttons, and various navigation buttons across your website. The same panel that looks at or controls the style that's applied to those buttons will also apply to the footer buttons and the login button. And by the way, there's another video that looks at how to remove the login button globally in those cases where you haven't implemented an education or a partner authentication backend module or anything like that. Another video introduces password protected modules. And certainly there's a lot of information in our FAQs. If not now, then certainly within coming days and weeks. Now, what you're looking at is our naked framework. So it's kind of how websites are initially delivered before modifications take place. We like this particular setup because it works and it converts. So there are a lot of changes that people make that actually diminish the capacity for the website to convert. It's designed in such a way that it converts more clients than any other combination of buttons and so on around your site. More on that another time. So all we're going to do initially is look at how to change this button in the top right, which is exactly the same in terms of method that is used to change all these other buttons. So let's have a look within Yabber. That page I'll pull up in a second. Apologies for that. I've lost internet here today, so it's all these pages are showing. I just got to refresh this, and so all these pages are coming back online for the first time. So from your website management page, there are 7 modules within website management. We're going to select the little chevron to the right hand side here, not once but twice, and that'll bring us to the buttons module here. So we can select that. Now tables are missing here. Domenico was in United States last month on his speaking tour, giving his AI presentations and so on, so he's a little bit behind the 8 ball when, in terms of catching up on some of this stuff. Now there's a second menu here called colors. We'll click on that. Another menu here called secondary colors will be applied when it is active, and I'll talk about that towards the end. So we've got the header left and header right. The call to action button, left, center, and right. They're the 3 buttons across the middle we looked at here. And then we have the navigation options, which are these 4 buttons. And they're kind of applied everywhere in different ways. And then the footer style and the login style. Now we're going to change the header right button. Remember, the header right button is this one here. There's a standard black background applied to it. At the moment, we'll go through, and the very first thing I'll do is I'll just open up a website, and all I'm going to do is change the background to red for the purpose of illustration. I selected send. That's a green button, so it makes the change on the website immediately. I'll go back, refresh that, and that button will now be green. It's important to know that whenever you update buttons from Yabber, that will remove the cache files that's associated with all the buttons. So each button is cached individually across every page for the purpose of tracking and so on, but I'll talk about that another time. But your website, every single asset on your website is tracked in one respect or another, and that includes back-end JavaScript and front-end UTM or Old Urchin or Google tracking tags that are applied. And they're obviously ingested as well by Yabber for the purpose of our own custom analytics. So all these are cached, but whenever you make an update via this panel, that entire cache is emptied effectively. Now let's make a ridiculous kind of combination of colors here. I'll try and make them all a little bit different. There we go. That's kind of a ridiculous color, whatever that is, and whatever that is. I'm not even going to look at them. So I'll save that. Now it's going to look ridiculous. Okay? It's a style that you would never normally apply. However, it can be done. There you go. Oh, and look at that hover. Yeah, that's just awful. You'd never use it, but you know, you get the point. Now, to revert back to the original colors, you've got a number of options. The default values will always be shown whenever any panel is opened. And there are some various reset menus that we've just recently applied, by the way, in the settings module. And that's because we've seen some guys do some really dumb things, and then they contact us and have us make the corrections, which always takes time. So they're set back to the original, and that's that. So that same, what I did there can be applied to all of these button modules. Okay, so I don't have to go through them all individually because it's all the same. What I will do, just for the simple sake of an example, I will just go through here and select, let's say, a dark green or something, just to give you an idea of, you know, a lot of people have a green themed website here, so I'll just go to this page and refresh that, and we'll have a green button towards the top right. So give it a second. There we go. So if you had a green website, you know, you might have something like that. We'll go with black. Now, the next thing we're going to have a look at is the primary navigation menu. Now, the primary navigation menu is this menu along here. Okay. Now, it's important to note at this stage, when I hover over these buttons, nothing happens. There's no hover effect that applies. And that only really applies on a couple of modules. But the hover effect is only applied when you perform an update. However, if we went to the first time buyer module, there is a hover effect on all these buttons, which is, you know, the black and white. Now, what are primary navigation options? They're all the navigation menus that are associated with your primary lending. So the 15 types of, 10 of which are listed here. So the 15 types of lending that brokers typically engage with, and a number of other modules associated with your primary lending products. There are other modules, or so I should say other styles and colors that may be applied to things like, if I select the property module here, you know, you may want to apply a separate style here for the purpose of segregating one section of your business from another. And a button there is or the buttons are a good way of being able to do this. So, and certainly from within the resources menus, there's this is a good indication of what the third tier buttons look like, and they're applied on menu items and things like that, like here. So this is a secondary menu. It's applied to you know, a downline resource, care providers. You know, it's a service rather than anything else. So that's that. Now, where was I? I don't know where I am. Anyway, we'll go back. So anyway, the secondary buttons will be applied or discussed in another location. Now, even from primary menu items, remembering the first time buyer menu buttons are a primary menu item, we can select these, and it will take, in this case, it's going to take us to a page where you still have secondary buttons on the left. They are a little bit different to some of the other modules within the primary lending modules. But not that much different. So, you know, you bounce around here and so on. You've got the process, which is just structured a little bit differently. As you jump in, the buttons are on the right-hand side. That's the only difference. And it's just to, you know, spice up the design just a little bit. So anyway, we'll go back here. And once again, we're going to alter the buttons here, navigation buttons. And we'll do the same in the first time buyer menu. We'll select that. We'll go back into Yabber and we'll select nav here for navigation buttons. I'll select a website, and what we'll do is we'll select red again. Now, before I save this, it's probably worth showing you. On the first time buyer page, for example, you notice there's no border here until I hover over the button, right? And that was done by giving the border, making the border color and the resting background color the same, right? It just looks better. In fact, I'm going to make these a little bit I might make them green or something, just because red's just an irritating color on screen. So I'll make those both green, and I'll send that. And let's have a look at what that looks like on this first home buyer page. And there we go. So we've got green buttons there. The hover effect and hover colors and hover style and so on has not changed. Had we altered some of these colors down here and so on, they would have changed. But you can play around with that yourself and you know, fill your boots, have some fun, and keeping in mind that you'll probably revert back to the style that was initially applied to your website. And here's the same on the front page. I like dark buttons. Dark buttons always just look better. You want to avoid pastels, you know, crayon-y type, bright colors, certainly nothing bright yellows, bright greens. Avoid like a plague in any location, particularly text. You can't read it. And a lot of people do it, which irritates me. So keep it very plain and simple. They're buttons, they're navigation elements, so we need to make them stand out and be bold, and we don't want them to be distracting. So again, by the way, we've come back to the front page here. All of a sudden these buttons inherit a hover effect. So by default they will not. If you go to your website and hover over these and nothing happens, it means that a custom style, a custom design has not been applied. Now, just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. Now, we see a lot of people go through and alter their site from what we deem to be close to best practice, and certainly something that is designed to convert, right? That's our end goal. That's our end objective, and that's to convert. So we see people go through and change colors willy-nilly, often without regard to the consequences or knowing exactly where those colors will be changed and the impact that it'll have site-wide. So please only change a color when you are aware of what changes will be made. Buttons are very simple. So in most cases, like I said, you're simply going to change this black to something else. Just for the sake of it, let's go through and change button 3 here, which is the phone number button, and we'll change that to red. I just want to show you how you know, these things start to look. So again, I've selected call to action, left, center, right. I've selected right. I've selected a website, and I'm just going to select red here and save. I'm not going to make any other changes. I'm going to refresh that page, and that button will be red. So in some cases you might want to make something. It's occasionally okay to make sort of one button really bold, like you know, book a consultation or a phone number or something like that, something that really stands out. In this case you probably wouldn't use red, but it might be suitable in some circumstances to use a color there that draws attention to it. Remember, our focus is that conversion, and we'll kind of do whatever's necessary in order to make that happen. I'm not sure what I've just described is the best way of going about it, but it's an option that's available to you. Certainly if your theme was red, so if your primary color, your primary brand was red, and you use the book consultation red button up here, it might be appropriate to stick that over a phone number as well, because that would sort of supplement your brand identity on your site. But I'm ranting a little bit. So guys, that's that. It's a big module, okay? Buttons is a big module, like a really big module. In fact, to overcomplicate things, you can actually alter the style of buttons directly. That is, you know, how they look and feel and so on. You can alter the padding on buttons and all sorts of things. You can create these profiles yourself. You can enable and disable the mouse over effect. You can do all sorts of things, but in probably 95 to 99% of cases, it's absolutely not necessary. Just stick with what's there, because what's there works, and it's built around best practice. Yeah, there was no guesswork that went into this. It's all based on a very scientific understanding of the data. So if you do make a change, understand that you're vacating what has been resolved to deliver results. So that's that. If you have any questions or inquiries, guys, give me a call on 0400 777 300. You can call or text me anytime. Our office line number is 1300 235 433. That's 1300 Belief. Or you can visit our website at beliefmedia.com.au. Bye-bye.